സംഘടിപ്പിച്ചിരിക്കുന്ന മൾട്ടി ഡിസിപ്ലിനറി ഇന്റർനാഷണൽ വെബിനാറിന്റെ ഭാഗമായിട്ടാണ് ഇന്ന് മ്യൂസിക് ആസ് എ ലാംഗ്വേജ് എന്ന വിഷയത്തെ അടിസ്ഥാനപ്പെടുത്തി പ്രൊഫസർ അച്യുതശങ്കർ സാർ നമ്മളോട് സംവദിക്കുന്നത്. അഗോറ എന്നുള്ള പേരിനെ അന്വർത്ഥമാക്കിക്കൊണ്ട് തന്നെ വിവിധ വിഷയങ്ങളെ അധികരിച്ചുകൊണ്ടുള്ള വെബിനാറുകളാണ് ഈ വേദിയിൽ നടക്കുന്നത്. ഇന്നത്തെ വെബിനാറിന്റെ പ്രത്യേകത, നമ്മൾ അടച്ചിരിക്കൽ കാലത്ത് വീട്ടകങ്ങളിൽ ഏകാന്തതയും വിരസതയും അനുഭവിക്കുന്നവർക്ക് ഒരു സംഗീതത്തിന്റെ മഴച്ചാറ്റ് തരുന്ന ഒരു പ്രഭാഷണമായിരിക്കും അച്യുതശങ്കർ സാറിൻ്റെതെന്ന് ഞാൻ വിചാരിക്കുകയാണ്. സാർ അടിസ്ഥാനപരമായി ഒരു ബയോ ഇൻഫോർമാറ്റിക് അധ്യാപകനാണ്. പക്ഷേ സംഗീതത്തിലേക്ക് അദ്ദേഹം എത്തപ്പെടുകയായിരുന്നു. അദ്ദേഹത്തിന്റെ കൂടെ കേരള സർവകലാശാലയുടെ അക്കാദമിക് കമ്മിറ്റി യോഗങ്ങളിൽ പങ്കെടുക്കാൻ എനിക്ക് അവസരം ഉണ്ടായിട്ടുണ്ട്. അതുകൂടി ഞാൻ ഓർത്തുകൊണ്ട് സാറിനെ ഞാൻ കൊല്ലം ശ്രീ നാരായണ കോളേജിലേക്ക് ഒരിക്കൽ കൂടി സ്വാഗതം ചെയ്യുകയാണ്. സംഗീതം എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ലോകത്തിലെ തന്നെ ഏറ്റവും ശുദ്ധമായ കലയാണ്, പ്യുവർ ആർട്ടാണ്. എല്ലാ കലകളും സംഗീതത്തിന്റെ നിലയെ കാക്ഷിക്കുന്നു എന്നാണ് ഷോപ്പനവറിനെ പോലെയുള്ള, വാൾട്ടർ പേറ്ററിനെ പോലെയുള്ള തത്വജ്ഞാനികൾ പോലും പറയുന്നത്. നമുക്ക് തന്നെ അറിയാം, MTയുടെ മഞ്ഞ് എന്ന നോവൽ വായിച്ചാൽ അതൊരു നോവലല്ല, അതൊരു സംഗീതമായിട്ടാണ് തോന്നുക. സ്റ്റീഫൻ മനാഫിന്റെ ഒരു കഥ വായിച്ചു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ അത് ഒരു കഥയായിട്ടല്ല തോന്നുക, ഒരു സംഗീതമായിട്ടാണ് തോന്നുക. ചില ചിത്രങ്ങൾ നമ്മെ സംഗീതത്തിന്റെ ലോകത്താണ് കൊണ്ടെത്തിക്കുന്നത്. ചില സിനിമകൾ സംഗീതാത്മകമാണ്. അങ്ങനെ എങ്ങനെ നോക്കിയാലും സംഗീതം നമ്മുടെ ജീവിതത്തിൽ അറിയാതെ സന്നിവേശിക്കുന്ന ഒന്നാണ്. അടിസ്ഥാനപരമായി സംഗീതം ശബ്ദങ്ങളുടെ സംയോജനമാണ്. ശ്രവണസുന്ദരങ്ങളായ ശബ്ദങ്ങൾ കൊണ്ട് മനസ്സിൽ വികാരങ്ങൾ സൃഷ്ടിച്ച് രസിപ്പിക്കുന്ന ഒരു കലയാണ് സംഗീതം. രാഗതാള പദാശ്രയമായതാണ് സംഗീതം എന്നാണ് നാട്യശാസ്ത്രത്തിൽ ഭരതമുനി സംഗീതത്തെക്കുറിച്ച് പറയുന്നത്. അക്ഷരങ്ങളുടെയും വാക്കുകളുടെയും സഹായത്തോടെ ആശയ വിനിമയം നടത്തുന്നത് സാഹിത്യ ഭാഷയാണെങ്കിൽ, സ്വരങ്ങളുടെ സഹായത്തോടെ ആശയപ്രകാശനം നടത്തുന്നതാണ് സംഗീതം. നാദഭാഷയാണ്, വികാരങ്ങളുടെ ഭാഷയാണ് സംഗീതം. മനുഷ്യന്റെ സകല വികാരങ്ങളെയും ദുഃഖത്തെയും സംഘർഷങ്ങളെയും സംഗീതത്തിൽ കൂടി ആവിഷ്കരിക്കാൻ സാധിക്കും. ഇത് മനുഷ്യന് ശാന്തിയും സമാധാനവും കൈവരുത്തുന്നു. സമ്യക്കാവുന്ന ഗീതം, നല്ല ഗീതം എന്നാണ് സംഗീതം എന്ന വാക്കിനർത്ഥം. ശ്രോതാക്കളിൽ സന്തോഷം, ദുഃഖം, അനുകമ്പ, ശാന്തി തുടങ്ങിയ വികാരങ്ങൾ ഉളവാക്കാൻ സംഗീതത്തിന് കഴിയുമെന്ന് രോഗശമനത്തിനും വരെ സംഗീതത്തെ ഉപയോഗിക്കാമെന്ന് ചിലർ കരുതുന്നു. സംഗീതം ദൈവികമാണെന്നും സാരസ്വത വീണയിലെ സപ്തസ്വരങ്ങൾ ആണതിൻ്റെ അടിസ്ഥാനം എന്നും ഭാരതീയർ വിശ്വസിച്ചിരുന്നു. ശാസ്ത്രീയമായി ശ്രുതി, താളം, ഭാവം അഥവാ ശബ്ദത്തിന്റെ പലതരത്തിലുള്ള വ്യതിയാനങ്ങൾ എന്നിവയാണ് സംഗീതത്തിന്റെ പ്രധാന ഘടകങ്ങൾ. ഈ കലയ്ക്ക് ഒരുപക്ഷെ മനുഷ്യ ചരിത്രത്തോളം തന്നെ പഴക്കമുണ്ടാകാം. ശബ്ദങ്ങൾ ഉപയോഗിച്ച് ഇരകളെ ആകർഷിക്കാനും മറ്റാശയങ്ങൾ വിനിമയം ചെയ്യാനും ആദിമ മനുഷ്യന് കഴിഞ്ഞിരുന്നു. പിന്നീട് സമൂഹമായി ജീവിക്കാനും കൂട്ടായി അധ്വാനിക്കാനും തുടങ്ങിയപ്പോൾ വിരസതയകറ്റാനും ഉന്മേഷം പകരാനും സംഗീതം ഒരു കലയായി. പുരോഗതിയിൽ സംഗീതത്തിന്റെ പങ്ക് അതുല്യമാണ്. സംഗീത വ്യാകരണം, ആവിഷ്കാര ചാരുത, സാങ്കേതിക തികവ്, സ്വരജ്ഞാനം എന്നിവയുടെ സംയോജനമാണ് കാലത്തെ അതിജീവിക്കുന്ന സംഗീത പ്രതിഭകളുടെ സൃഷ്ടിക്ക് പിന്നിലുള്ള മുഖ്യ കാരണങ്ങൾ. മലയാളികളെ സംബന്ധിച്ചിടത്തോളം ചലച്ചിത്ര ഗാനങ്ങളാണ് അവരുടെ ആത്മഭാവം. ഒരു വരി ചലച്ചിത്ര ഗാനമെങ്കിലും മൂളിപ്പാട്ട് ഉണ്ടാവുകയില്ല. അങ്ങനെ എല്ലാ തരത്തിലും സംഗീതത്തിൽ വീണ് അലിഞ്ഞു പോകുന്ന ഒരു മനുഷ്യരാണ് നാം എല്ലാവരും. നമ്മെ സംഗീതത്തിന്റെ അറിയപ്പെടാത്ത മേഖലകളിലേക്ക് കൂട്ടിക്കൊണ്ടുപോകാൻ അഗോറയുടെ വേദിയിലെത്തുന്ന ഏറ്റവും ബഹുമാന്യനും ആദരണീയനുമായ പ്രൊഫസർ അച്യുതശങ്കർ സാറിനെ ആദരപൂർവം കൊല്ലം ശ്രീനാരായണ കോളേജിലേക്ക് ഒരിക്കൽ കൂടി സ്വാഗതം ചെയ്തുകൊണ്ട് ഞാൻ എൻ്റെ വാക്കുകൾ അവസാനിപ്പിക്കുന്നു. നന്ദി, നമസ്കാരം.
Thank you so much, Sunil Kumar sir. Let me introduce today's speaker. I know many of you are familiar with our speaker today, but let me do it as part of our program. Dr. Achuthsankar S. Nair. Currently, he is a professor of computer science and head of Department of Computational Biology and Bioinformatics, University of Kerala. Professor Achuthsankar has awarded his BTech in Electrical Engineering from College of Engineering, Thiruvananthapuram. He took his MTech in Electrical Engineering from IIT Mumbai. His MPhil in Computer Speech and Language is from University of Cambridge, UK, and PhD in Engineering from University of Kerala. It is interesting that Professor Achuthsankar was awarded his second PhD in music from University of Kerala itself. Professor Achuthsankar has served many important positions previously to this. He was a Dean Faculty of Applied Sciences and Technology, University of Kerala, Director, Center for Development of Imaging Technology, Director, IQAC, University of Kerala, Director, Center for International Academics, Member, Executive Committee of Kerala State Higher Education Council, Member, Syndicate QSAT, and Visiting Professor, University of Korea, Seoul. He is an active researcher, and 23 candidates have been awarded PhD under the guideship of Professor Achuthsankar. He has published a modest number of research papers with around 800 citations in total. Highest citation is 110. He has published 12 popular science books in Malayalam, textbooks on data structures in C, Scilab, and a science fiction titled Idichakka Plamutile Rajakumari. Professor Achuthsankar has written extensively on local history of Trivandrum in the Hindu and Journal of Kerala Studies, and occasionally gives Carnatic music concerts. Professor Achuthsankar has bagged a number of awards: Teacher Award by Indian National Science Academy, New Delhi, Vakam Maulavi Foundation Award for Social Service, Thiruvallam Achyuthan Nair Award for Excellence in Education, Young Scientist Award from Government of Kerala, ISTE National Award for Young Engineering Teachers, and Cambridge Barclay Scholarship in 1991. We welcome you, dear Professor Achuthsankar S. Nair, to the 40th talk of our third edition of Agora webinar series, organized by Sri Narayana College, Kollam. Over to you, sir.
Hello, can you all hear me?
Yeah, sure, sir.
Just a minute. Okay, should I speak in Malayalam or English? I see the names, some of the names are people from outside Kerala.
Yeah, we have a bunch of participants from outside Kerala.
Okay, so I remember you told me. So first of all, namaskaram to all of you, my fellow teachers and other participants. A special namaskaram to the principal, Sri Dr. Sunil Kumar, who has given a very thoughtful speech about music, touched upon something for me to stand as a platform. I'm very, very glad and proud to speak on the platform of an international multidisciplinary seminar organized by SN College, Kollam, which stands in the sacred name of the great Guru, Sri Narayana, who himself had a great sense of music, as could be seen by reading his literary works. Perhaps I will touch upon it as I talk. Today, and thank you, Jisha, for inviting me for this lecture. In fact, there is a very happy coincidence. I was waiting outside the hospital where my daughter was about to give birth to a baby. And she sent me a mail and I was sitting there idling. I replied to her saying that I will come for this seminar, and she asked what topic, and I said music. And suddenly my wife came out from the hospital room and said that we now have a granddaughter. So it was this topic and the birth of my grandchild was a coincidence. I'm very happy to share that with all of you. I became a grandfather. See, I would like to talk about music with an aim to impress all of you that music is for all of us. It is not for those who are gifted in music. You know, we might sometimes think, oh, Yeshudas is born with music. S.P. Balasubramaniam is born with music. Very great talent and gift of God. But that is not true. We all can enjoy music. There are many ways in which music can be enjoyed, and there are many ways in which music can be practiced, because it is like a language. When I say music is a language, a lot of things follow from it. We know very well that if something is a language, then in principle everybody can learn. In principle, let us, for example, think of Chinese language. Chinese language is considered to be very difficult to learn by when people who do not know the language look at it. I traveled in China a lot. I couldn't recognize even a single character, because I'm told there are so many characters. Words have got characters, 20,000 characters also. Maybe there is some pattern to it, I do not know. But the point is that when I was born, that did not happen to anyone. But if I was transported to China and a Chinese mother took care of me, I would have spoken Chinese now. That's all. So with language, what happens is when you are tiny itself, you are immersed into a language environment and you pick up language. So my simple hypothesis is that if you are immersed in a musical environment, you pick up music. Very as simple as that. Because if you look at the structure of music, you see that everything equivalent to a language is actually there. It has its alphabets, the notes. It has a grammar. You can say it's a syntax of the language. So music also has a grammar. And it is expressed using sound. You can have a written form and you can express it using sound. Both are true for human language and music. Even culturally, if you look at it, you know, languages all over the world have very great commonalities. I think you must have all heard of great scholar Chomsky, who said that human beings have an innate structure of language in them. So if you are speaking Kannada, somebody else is speaking Tamil, they have the same ability actually. The language ability at the core of it is the same. Over that ability, you put a cultural symbol of Tamil or Malayalam or Hindi on it, and then it comes out as that language. But the basic innate skill of human being in using a language seems to be latent in the human being. It is inherent in the human being. So I would like to say the basic ability of music is inherent in you. And it is possible for everyone to bring that out in different extents. The principle referred to M.T. Vasudevan. So I may not be using language with the same gift as M.T. Vasudevan, but we are both using. And we are both having its own pleasure in using that. Even though I don't write like M.T. Vasudevan. What I write, I sometimes gives me joy and it has an effect. So the connection between languages across the world is very well known. I don't need to tell you. Even not only the internal structure of the language, the innate structure of the language, but even the give and take between languages, world languages, is also very evident. You look at English and Sanskrit. you find that striking similarity between these languages, even though we might think they are very different. You know, the Britishers are Westerners and we are Easterners, but the language seems to not worry about it. I look at many words, hrit, heart, denta, dandal. And even if you look at other European languages, you know, like Greek and Latin, you say septa, septagon, September. September was earlier 7th month. Only when the calendar was changed from 10 to 12 months, September became the 9th month. So original meaning is 7th month. So septa is sapta. Apta is ashta. November, nava is nava in Sanskrit. Dakka is dasha. And even 12 in mathematics and all, we use this word, and then the equivalent word that you use is Diodaka. And in Sanskrit, you say Dwa Dasha. So there is give and take between world languages. I worked for some time in Malaysia, and I found that their language, actually it has a Arabic script now, because of a lot of cultural exchanges. It has a script called Rumi script, which is very similar to Arabic. But many words are Sanskrit words. The Prime Minister is called the Perdana Mantri, and their famous proton car, the models are called Veera and Saga. And many words you could see that are you give and take. Look at our own Malayalam language, you know, we have taken from English, we have taken from Arabic, Persian, we have taken from Hebrew. Persian words are, and from Dutch, many words are there in our language. And some of them in very day-to-day use, you like Sarkar, Zamindar, Tahsildar, Karad of the budget, you say. You know, these are all Persian words. Anyway, now I would like to now talk about why music can be everyone's, not just of those who are gifted. The first thing I would like to say is that, please think over it. The joy that music gives is not one, it's not a single joy. There are many kinds of joys that music can give. I will list out some. The first one is, of course, singing. Another is listening. You may not have, many of us may not have differentiated this, but there are two joys, singing and listening. I will tell you an example, striking example. One of the greatest singers that we know is Achuthsankar from Kerala. So he sings in a very, very divine manner. You know, in his prime days, you know, you're just moved beyond words the way he sings. Many songs come to my mind. Both, as Sunil Kumar sir said, the popular music of Kerala is the film music. You look at the film music, or you look at classical or semi-classical that he has sung, devotionals that he has sung, many songs rush to my mind. They're rendered in such a way that nobody can ever hope to beat that rendering in its beauty, in its precision, in its clarity, in its sweetness. But when each of us hear his song, we are not simply listening. We are humming that song. Even when his song is being heard, we are humming. Why? Is it that we can sing better than him? Not many of us can, or at least not many of us think we can. But we hum along with that. Why? Because only if you hum, however bad that is, however inferior that is, you can enjoy the feeling of singing only when you sing. You cannot get that through listening. And that is why most of us don't care whether our music is very good. We sing or we hum. But we might be shy. We might be shy about that. And therefore, most of us will not declare that we can sing. But, you know, a place where we are ourselves, we are, for me, I think is about half an hour every day when you are in the bathroom. And in that place, you are naked, you are shameless, and you sing. That is a very special thing. You sing. You don't care whether your singing looks, it sounds nice, but you sing. The reason is that you are not singing because it is very nice. You are singing because you are enjoying singing. I think I have made my point clear. You can enjoy listening to music. You can enjoy singing. These are two different joys of music. And there is yet another one, which of course Yesudas gets very often, is to sing and make people listen to your singing, see their recognition or satisfaction or joy, and reflect that joy in you. അതായത് ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞത് പാടുന്ന സുഖം, പാട്ട് കേൾക്കുന്ന സുഖം, പാടി കേൾപ്പിക്കുന്ന സുഖം, മൂന്നെണ്ണമാണ് ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞത്. The joy of listening, the joy of singing, the joy of performing. That means there is somebody in front of you, you are performing, they are listening. That is another joy. You can think of many other joys. There is another joy called creating music. For example, Devarajan, the famous music director from Kerala, he would have got tons of joy of making music. Again, hundreds of songs rush to my mind. When I talk of Devarajan Mash, I cannot say that without a kind of big koshayatra of songs and feelings in my mind. And so that is also a joy. You create music, and it remains, in the cultural atmosphere for a very long time. And there is even other kinds of, you can think of other joys of music. I can tell you one which all of us are very familiar with. Singing together. That is a particular joy, singing together. We have all experienced it when we stood in the school assembly in our young days, and we listened to, we sang the national anthem or the school anthem. I'm sure you all remember. I remember singing Janaganamana and Akilanda Mandavam Anichu. So singing together is a particular joy, and there is some very socially useful thing in it. Everybody feels in unison. They feel they were connected. We are together. That is why every nation uses the national anthem to prop up the national spirit. It is worth study, what the national songs say, what their music is. Now, I should jump and tell you ahead of what I planned, that there is also a great amount of unity in the music of the national anthem. You take India, you take Pakistan, you take Sri Lanka, you take Great Britain, and you take America. Interesting fact is that all the national anthems are in a tune, or what we call in our culture as raga, which is called the Shankaravara. Not only that, the great kind of cultural connect across the world is also evidenced by the fact that most of the national anthems are in a rhythm called 8-beat. In our tradition, in our culture, we call it Adi Talam. The name is also very interesting. Adi means the earliest talam, earliest rhythm, which is equal beats of 8. So, like language, you think of categories of words in language. These categories exist in all languages. There may be some rules may be different, but you can see that some structure is very similar. So I would say music is a world culture, and they are all connected. We cannot say whether it came from one source, but it is also that it is innate that in every culture it blossomed and it demonstrated some commonality. That is what possibly it is. That's what I would think. I would say to all those who are listening to me, you are entitled to enjoying music in whatever way you want. So you must take away any kind of prejudices about whether you can sing. Imagine a nursery class, in a kindergarten class, or a first standard, in which the teacher goes and asks, who knows to sing? Then typically what happens is all all the students in the class say, oh, I know, I like to sing, I like to sing. In fact, if the teacher asks who likes to draw, then everybody says they all like. But as we grow up, we become very artificial. And even if we know to sing, we will think it is not very modest to say that I know to sing. In fact, I pity myself that when I was a small student in the school, I used to sing at home. I was very fond of music. But one day the teacher asked who knows to sing. And then somebody said somebody else can sing. And he became the master singer for this my class for another 6 years. And nobody else was recognized as a singer. But I could have myself stood up and said, sir, I know to sing. But I was a very shy boy and I didn't do that. And my whole school life, I never sang. So in the first standard, if it was asked, then, people would have, everyone would have, they're not shy, they're very adventurous, curious, and innocent. So that innocence we must relive. Then you can bring music into your life in much more beautiful manner. Now, I would also like to say the classification of music into classical, folk, popular music, film music, Eastern, Western. Well, these are all true. There are subtle variations in all this, but these are all in the very base of it. There is a commonality and a unification, like food. For example, you can say whatever the food that you're eating, it contains starch, it contains proteins, it contains minerals or vitamins. So, a pizza might look very different from rice and sambar, but at some point of comparison, some level of comparison, they are the same. The mixture is different, but they have same constituents. At even deeper level of comparison, they're exactly the same. They're made up of atoms. The pizza is made up of atoms, idli is made up of atoms. So we must see the difference. We must enjoy the difference and the diversity in world music and different streams of music. At the same time, we must be proud that the world culture has behind the curtain very great linkages and commonalities. Now let me come to the alphabets of music. These alphabets are not different in a major way in any musical system. Between Western and Eastern, between classical and folk, between classical and popular, there are only subtle variations. But you cannot say that they are totally different. Let us take, for example, Western music and Indian music. If you take a keyboard and play from any particular note, now if you play from any particular note, you may not be able to sing because the pitch might be very high or low. So if somebody can help you to show you what is a popular part of the keyboard where you can play, which is matching with the male sound or female sound. So if you play there, you hear 7 notes. These 7 notes are with Indian music. It is with folk music. It is with Arabic music. Every music, these notes are recognized. They have different names. Each culture names them differently. Western culture may call it Sole, Fa, etc. We may call it Sarigama. But these notes more or less seem to be the same. Now let me at this point of time tell you how they are different and how we can look at it. Like a language. For example, in Trivandrum, the Malayalam spoken in Trivandrum is made fun of. You make everything plural. Vellangala kudicha nanu choyikku. Vellangala. Collegegali poya. Bussugal vanna nanu choyikku. But the basic word is same. Another district also they say bus vanno nanu choyikku. But these are not two extremely different things, but there is a cultural subtle change. This subtle change, even though we make fun of, actually is cultural diversity. If everybody spoke exactly the same way in the whole world, then we cannot laugh at other people's languages. If everybody speaks like a robot, exactly same way, how boring the world would be. If everybody were of the same height, everybody were the same color, everybody looked alike, everybody was equally strong, even though this is the ideal world most of us think of, but it would have been a terrible world if everybody had equal ability. For example, if I could sing like Yeshudas, all of you could sing like Yeshudas. Just imagine there is no Yeshudas anymore. There is no great music anymore. Yeshudas is great because, very surprisingly, because we cannot sing very well. Otherwise, he would not be a very great singer. All of us, if we could sing like him. Anyway, so I would like to now tell you how the Western and the Eastern notes are different and how we can look at it. It can be looked upon as a dialect of language, musical language. Their dialect is different there, here it is different. Now, I will sing these notes in the Western style and in the Eastern style. I told you this is, I would rate this is one of the most famous tunes of the world, not only of India, of the world, the whole world. You go to any country, this music is recognized. They might, the subtle differences might prevent them from suddenly recognizing it, but given sufficient time, they will recognize it. So if you play the keyboard, it sounds like this. Sa re ga ma pa da ni sa, sa ni da pa ma ga re sa. This is how the keyboard sounds, Western keyboard. Actually, using these keys, all white keys on the keyboard, you can play Janaganamana. Ga 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 re re re. You know, notes of this particular raga is played in our Janaganamana. Now, our music plays the same notes, but like the person in Trivandrum using Malayalam language in a different dialect, our music plays these notes with a slang that they to the Western ears sounds very funny. But in our music, if you don't play like this, then it is taken as child's play. You know, the Western notes are child's play because you are not giving any ornamentation to the notes. That is what Indian music says. So I will sing the Western notes and immediately followed by the Indian style of singing the same notes. Can you use the music? Okay, somebody has asked a question. Can you come on? I didn't see that question fully. Can you speak out through your mic? I'll be happy to answer.
Sir, it's muted. It's in the Q&A box, sir.
Oh, okay.
The lower panel, it's on.
Can you read? Can you read that question?
Total 9 questions, sir. Total 9 questions.
Okay.
Last question is from Jinu. Sir, please sing a Yeshudas song composed by Devarajan.
Okay. Most famous is Rivarasanam Vishwamohanam Ardadishwaram Aradhya Padukam. See, Devarajan would have enjoyed not making this song, but I am sure he derived more joy when he himself sang the song. For example, Kunjan Parambile Tatte Varu Panchavarna Kilitate Kunjande Kachamanigal Kottu Konji Kuranyorudate. Why he would have enjoyed it more is he created the music and he's singing it. So double joy. That is what I'm pointing at. Whereas in the other one, he created the music and Yeshudas sang. Okay. Now I will answer the other questions at the end. Here are the notes of Western followed by the same notes in Eastern style. Sa re ga ma pa da ni sa. This is Western. Sa re ga ma pa da ni sa, sa ni da pa ma ga re sa. Keralam Keralam. This is the raga, Shankarabharanam. Actually, you will find this music being heard all over all the continents in the world. All the continents in the world. How heartening it is to see that human beings and the culture of the world is so interconnected. When I went to China, I visited a university and I went into the music department. I asked whether there is a music department. So I went there and I asked them to play a song, popular song, and they played on an instrument which looked like veena or a guitar. And please note this, in music we actually have these 7 alphabets, but these 7 alphabets need not be used all together in all music. In Shankarabharana, you use all the 7 notes. If you drop notes, then the mood is very different. For example, sa ri ga ma pa da ni sa. You drop 2 notes. Sa ri ga pa ni sa ni pa ga re sa. Ragangale, Mogangale. So this is a very famous raga called Hamsadhuni. You leave another 2 notes, you get another raga, which is the favorite of the Chinese. Sa ri ga pa da sa da pa ga re sa. So this is called Mohanam. Mohanam is very, very famous in our popular music. Again, look at Devarajan, and the famous song is sung by K.S. George in Mohanam. Marivillin tenmalare manyu pokayo manyu pokayo Neele padangalellam kodithulli neekave kodithulli neekave. Now I would also like to tell you these 7 notes. That's actually a very wrong impression to think that music has 7 notes. See, you look at a rainbow. How many colors does it have? You are taught to say 7. But you look at a rainbow, actually it is not 7 colors which are very distinct. There is a continuous variation of colors. Continuous variation. Maybe I should also say the Indian way of singing the note is, the Western way is the singing the note is, you strike the note exactly. Sa, re, ga, ma, pa. But in our case, we say, sa, re, ga, ma. So it is like a dancing note. Or another analogy I can tell you is that, you have seen kids painting. You give them a sketch pen. They draw a sun, put a circle, and inside that they put red color. In a hill they draw and they put black color. They fill it with black color. Sky they put whole blue. But if you use a watercolor, it can never be like that. This watercolor spreads. The color in if they border each other, they spread just like the rainbow colors. So in Indian music, the notes actually spread to each other. That is the beauty of our. So it is like a watercolored painting. The other one is like a sharp bordered painting. So this is one. Now I would like to say the 7 note idea, 7 notes in all music, not only in ours, in all music. 7 notes means 7 categories of notes. And in some categories, there are variations. The most famous category, most simplest variation I can tell you is the note ma. Sa di ga ma pa da ni sa. You change that ma to higher frequency, higher pitch, then what you get is sa ri ga ma pa da ni sa Sani da pa ma ga re sa. This is one of the, for me, it is my, I would say, my Kamugi, Raga Kalyani. Very, very, just a minute. A very, very soothing, very romantic, very spiritual, very special, very sweet raga. Again, in our film music, you have any number of songs in Kalyani. Surga, Surga Nandini, Swapna Viharini, Ishta Devate, Saraswati. So many songs like that. Now, the principal, Dr. Sunil Kumar, mentioned that ragas can create many bhavas, many emotions. Some of you may have seen a movie called The Pokuve. It's a famous classic movie by, or art movie by G. Aravind. It is famous for its music. Actually, I would say, we normally say it's background score, music's background score. But in that cinema, that film, I would say, it is the film is the background. The music is in the front, foreground. And that music is very depressing music. So what happens is the notes have been, categories have been changed. A new set of categories is taken. Shankaravarnam is not depressing. It's a very live, energizing raga. But listen to this Pokuveil music. Sarigama pada, sarigama garisa, sarigama pada, nisa sanida pama garisa, tadaranana, Hridayatin romanjam swararagagangayai padarunamani veena mugavai. This song talks about death, and the sorrow of death is captured by this raga. This raga is called Shubha Panduvara. I am not an expert in Western music. I just have tried to understand some aspects of it. But my understanding is, I will stand corrected if somebody says that it is not factual, but my current understanding is that our music explores the emotional spectrum of the tunes, of ragas or scales, as the Western music says, more extensively than any other music system. Now, I'm humble enough to say that I cannot make this statement because I haven't learned all the music systems of the world. But from writings of people, many scholars, I gather, and I am happy to stand corrected if somebody proves me wrong. So you see that the music is like a language, a diverse language, and many like you write a lot of literary work in different languages. Using these alphabets, you can write. By using different categories of these alphabets, you can write, and each of them create different sensations. So there again, you can see a commonality with the language. Now I will talk about one more, and then perhaps make my final remarks and take your questions. Language has rhythm. Language, normally we say, is used in two forms, poem and prose, Gadyam and Padyam. Padyam has specifically a rhythm to it. Now, music also actually has prose and poem, musically, in the sense of music, not in the sense of its sahitya. So I think many of you who are familiar with, or you remember your school days, remember that we were taught about how meter in poetry is there in every language. In Malayalam, we call it Vrittam. In Sanskrit, we call it Chandas. Of course, there might be a small difference between the two. And if you look at rhythm in poetry in human language, you find that there are certain rules, there are certain patterns, and these patterns are, again, not surprisingly, there all across the culture. Whether you look at Arabic or you look at, today I was looking at Greek poetry, meter in Greek poetry. They actually are very similar to Sanskrit poetry. Malayalam is slightly different. Malayalam has a very different way of approaching meter. Now, music has a parallel to this. That is called talam. Vrittam and talam. The difference is that vrittam is more flexible, whereas talam is clockwork precision. You cannot, where the beat has to end, it has to end. There is no exception in any case. But in Vrittam, you have a license to break the rules. And it's sometimes taken as perfectly all right. And you can break all the rules. For example, like different lines of a poem to be of very different lengths. Even though Vrittam does not actually, it permits only in certain forms, like Artha, Samavrittam, or things of that sort. But you can break all that and have totally unequal lines and not confined to the so-called 2 or 4, Iradi or Sloka. You can have 5 or 6 or 7 or whatever, all these modern poets write like that, because they want to actually make a statement by breaking these rules. And they think that what the poetry conveys, its aesthetics and the idea, is what really matters, not the rhythm of it. But some people say, even those who claim that they write without rhythm, you can find that there is a reflection of rhythm. Anyway, so in music, what is prose and what is poem? You do raga ala. There is no rhythm in it. There is no length. You can sing in any length. For example, you can go on singing to any length. Nobody takes measure of how much each phrase of music that you did, what is the length. Nobody measures that. Somebody is raising hand. Is it for me? Asking me to stop. Amos Srikumar?
No, sir. No, sir.
What does that mean, raising this hand?
I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here for responding me.
Fine. I was joking. I was joking. Okay. So when you sing, it has to be precise measurement of time. The difference between Vrittam and Rhythm is that there is no flexibility in Vrittam. For example, a very famous Vrittam. I think if I remember right, its name is Tarangini. One simple thing is, have 4 short syllables and 4 such segments in one line. That is Tarangini. But the way that Vrittam is used in language is that you skip the last one and it is still Tarangini, or sometimes you call it Una Tarangini. That means Tarangini with a bit less. But in Talam, you cannot do that. You cannot take away 1 unit of the Talam at all, at whatever cost. So Tarangini happens to be Adi Talam in Carnatic music and 8-beat cycle in Western music. So there you don't have the sayings like Tabajam, Jagam, Gam and all that. The rather very similar sounding sound is used. It is called Vaitari. So Tarangini in Carnatic music is Tagadimi, 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 Tagadimi. That is the Vrittam. That is the rhythm. You also have different phrases to say that. Takadimi, Takajunnu, Takadimi, Takajunnu, Takadimi, Takajunnu. You can do it at different speeds. This is not something that Vrittam is talking about. You can, the matra is defined as the time it takes to breathe one syllable. But in Carnatic music, you don't do that. It is relative. So you can sing ta ka dhi mi ta ka junnu, and then you can sing in doublet speed. Takka dimmi, takka junnu, takka dimmi, takka junnu. You can sing again its double speed. Takka dimmi, takka junnu, takka dimmi, takka junnu, takka dimmi, takka junnu. So that speed difference and all that has to fall into exact measurements of time. So all of this indicate you there's a great parallel between music and languages. And it is possible for us to be, just like you are creative in Sahityam, in Gadyam or Padyam, you can be creative in music. That is what separates film music and Carnatic music. In film music, you don't improvise. Neither the singer nor those who mimic it improvise. They have to sing exactly like what the original version of the first recorded version of the song is. That is antithesis of creativity. You are just replicating a song. But in Carnatic music, if you sing a song like somebody else sang, then you are considered as a second-rate singer. Dr. Balamurali Krishna, people say, I also vouch, his most famous possible rendering is Nagumu. Nagumo muganaleni najali telsi. He sings this in every concert in a different way. So without breaking the rhythm or the ragam, within that structure, you have to, you have to improvise. And then there is another level of improvisation where the Sahitya is dropped and you use just music notes. This is called a Swara Prastara. And you can be very, very creative when you do that. And the limits are only the rhythm, nothing else. And the notes, of course, it's always when you play in one raga, it has to be that. There are very many singers who are not pleasant sounding, but very creative. I remember the figure of, or the music of Madurai Mani Iyer. It's a very famous former Carnatic musician. So he is so creative with swaras that every time you are surprised what is going to do next. A song that comes to my mind is Sarasamukhi Sakala Bhagyate. Then he sings this and then finishes with swaras, patterns of swaras woven into the rhythmic structure, finally ending in the original song. Listen to this. Rima Rima Pada Sarasamukhi. He has sung Rima Rima Pada Sarasamukhi. So this comes extempore, Rima Rima Pada Sarasamukhi. Sari Rima Mama Papa Pada Dasasa. Sari Rima Mama Pada Dasasa. Sari Rima Mama Papa. Sari Rima Mama Papa Pada Dasasa. Dasasa Sari. It beautifully weaves into the original song, and he can put a very long phrase of notes of very, very interesting patterns, and then finally connect back exactly at the fall of the beat in the original one. So in Western music also, in certain forms of music, this is permitted. For example, jazz permits improvisation. So this is like in language you say, you can write an article and publish it. Then it is like in a fixed posture. But when you make a speech, extempore you are talking. You're talking and adding another phrase or part of a sentence, you are adding another sentence. There is no plan, but it comes just like I am speaking now. I don't have a script to speak, but it just flows out. So similarly, music also permits that. So that phrase, one of that example is the Swara Prastara. And the another example is, of course, you can do the Raga Alap. There also you can be creative. There is another form also, where the Sahitya and pronouncing the notes are both dropped. just the sound of the notes is required, and the feel of the rhythm is also there, but not with precision like in a sahitya. So this is called tanam. All these are very, satisfying to do, because each of it very carefully gives you one freedom in one dimension of music. And you can, when you, so whatever you enjoy, whatever dimension you enjoy, you can go to that dimension. When you sing a kirtana or a song, actually you are bound by many restrictions. One is that you must sing the sahityam of it. Number two is that you have to sing according to the rhythm. You cannot break that rhythm. And you have to sing the notes of the raga. When all this falls in place, there is a joy. But then there are too many restrictions. To get the joy, you must actually get all these in place. Certain songs are very easy to do that, but then their improvisation might be very difficult. For example, this playful song, Varalila Gana Lola Surapala Sugunajala Bharita Nila Kalabalala Saparipurna Sukarunala Vala Palaya Sumam. Varalila Gana Lola Surapala Sugunajala Bharita Nila Kalabalala Saparipurna Sukarunala Vala Palaya Sumam. There everything falls in place. There is no space for improvising in that sahitya. You cannot elongate or do anything of with that sahitya. But in certain other songs, it is not like that. For example, Jaya Jaya Padma Nabhamurare, Jaya Jaya Padma Nabhamurare, Jaya Jaya Padma Nabhamurare, Jaya Jagadisha. There's a lot of space for you to pull the sahitya, elongate the sahitya or shorten it or double speed it. All of this is there, whereas in the earlier song, it was not there. So this also is like, I would say, the former chief minister, Sri V.S. Achuthsankar, he had a very special way of speaking. I'm not a good person at mimicking, but I think all of you know how he speaks. So unlike us, he elongates certain words. So that is taken as a style. That is and it also gives another rhythm to his speaking. So I can actually go on to say many things of this sort, comparing music with the human language. My intention was to open up a new perception into looking at music and understanding music. If I had time, I would have actually spent a lot more time on telling you that music is one of the most fragrant flowers in the garden of culture. I would actually only see two things in the garden of culture: music and language. When I say languages, all that emanates from languages comes into that. It is our common heritage. It's world heritage. We can link to each other from any other people from another culture. For example, Arabian music. I was actually so surprised and moved that one day, M. Jayachandran, the music director, M. Jayachandran, I think some of you know, he happens to be an electrical engineer. I am also basically an electrical engineer. He one day sang how in Arabia, in the mosque, they sing out. And he told me that, do you know, it is Raga Bagulabaranam. And a very special ornamentation of notes of the Raga Bagulabaranam. I have never heard anything more curious and, more, what would I say? I was so joyful hearing him singing that. For two things. One is, to know that our Bagulabaranam is there in hearts of other people also. So that cultural connect was a very great surprise for me, very matter of happiness for me. Number two is that special phrase of that raga which he sang. I cannot sing that. It requires great amount of craft to sing that. This is called Indian. This note vibration is called gamakam. In Western music, they call it ornamentation. In Western music also they do that. They usually use a very simple one called vibrato. In our music also, I would like to tell you that the famous composers in Indian music, they took a fancy to Western music also. Saint Tyagaraja took a fancy to Western music. The song that I sang just before this, Varalila Gana Lola Surapala Sugunajala Bharita Neela Kalaba. This is not Indian. This is actually a Western tune because it doesn't use a lot of gamakas, and it is simple 8-beat or 4-beat structure. The great composer called Dikshita, he while he walked in front of Fort St. George in Madras, where the colonial masters were there, he heard them playing, the band, British band playing. And you know what he did? He was a very great traditional composer. But what he did was he came back and composed 40 songs in that style. Western songs, but with spiritual message. Shyamale Meenakshi Sundareshwara Sakshi Shankari Guru Guha Samudbhave Shiveva Pamara Mojani Sankata Mojani Padmasana Vani Hari Lakshmi Vinute Shive Shyamale Meenakshi. There are many other composers also who sang Western mode. We call it English note. Gama Gariga Pariga Sa Nisa Nidani Risadapa Gama Mariga Pariga Sa Nisa Nidani Risadapa Pamagappa Sanida Gamada Pagasagappa Dabamagari Sariga Gari Gamagappa Maparini Riga Risanida Gari Gaddappa Pamaga. So these are all like in Malayalam, when we see that Walter Scott wrote a historic novel, we say Dharmaraja is modeled after that. Similarly, music also, from different musical schools, people give and take. That also is a parallel as far as music and language are concerned. I can go on, but I think, it should not be a monologue. I saw a lot of people saying many things, but I couldn't concentrate on that. Now it's time for you to ask questions, make comments, and also say whether you liked what you heard, so that I'm not demotivated to speak about it more. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. You made our evening beautiful. Thank you so much. I think a fantastic path is waiting for you outside the carriage.
Not me, but music made it beautiful, if at all.
Yeah, of course. I think a fantastic path is waiting outside the Karyavattom campus for you.
What's waiting? What's waiting?
A very fantastic path. A new path is waiting outside the campus for you. So there are some 23 questions waiting for you in the Q&A box.
Yeah. Can you read out? Read out?
First question from Amal Hussain.
Yeah.
Music is a language that doesn't have a barrier. Anyone can listen and enjoy it. Isn't it? It's a statement.
True. Actually, Hussain, its name is Hussain?
Amal Hussain.
Amal, this is true for the human language also. When I studied history in school, I never liked it. But the reason was that they were saying very uninteresting things. For example, when did Vasco da Gama come to Kerala or to India? And you had to say the date and who was the king and all that. But what surprised me was, how did Vasco da Gama speak? how did Vasco da Gama come and speak to Samudra? There was nobody who knew about his land. He never knew anything about India or its language or its culture. How did he manage to speak? So actually, we have a proof that they did communicate. They did communicate, because if they did not communicate, how did all this history happen? They did communicate. And now I am more knowledgeable about how all those things happened. But I'm trying to tell you, human beings all over the world, their culture is interwoven and interconnected. It must have diverged, like this coronavirus is diverging. It must have diverged, and some of them might look very strangers, but they are connected. So music is, I would say, a level ahead than language. It conserves a great amount of uniformity across language, across continents. And plus, it is the sound. You don't have an alphabet as such. It's a sound. And sound can actually reach out to any other culture. There is only subtle variations that confuse. Like our gamagam confuses the Western musicians, and their lack of gamagam confuses us. And we ask why they are singing in such, lifeless notes, whereas we have dancing notes. That is what it is. So yes, Aman, I think that music is a language that connects human beings across different cultures more than language. That is what I would say.
Sir, from Jinu, what do linguistics study in their laboratory? What do linguistics study in their laboratory?
The question is not clear. Linguistic study. You are asking whether I have do any linguistic study?
Yeah, first I do tell so.
Maybe you can ask the question.
Is there any linguistic study in your lab? That is what.
Okay. See, let me tell you. Yes, I would first of all answer you yes and give you an explanation. I am a person who work in the Department of Bioinformatics, and if you ask me what do, I study the linguistics of human DNA. DNA is a language with 4 alphabets, A, G, C, and T. So I study linguistics of it, yes. But if your question was about human language linguistics, I don't do anything on it right now, other than the fact that currently I have great interest in studying Malayalam Vrittam and trying to see what is its connection to Thalam, both Kerala Thalams and Carnatic music. So this is just out of curiosity. I'm just interested to know. So I'm reading and preparing notes on it and writing in my own style about it. Other than that, I don't do any computational linguistics at the moment.
Thank you. So from Srijit CR, in our system sound that man could hear is divided into 22 Shrutis. Is Shruti an equivalent of semitone in Western music?
Yeah, very involved question. There is an unending debate on whether there are 22 Shrutis or somebody says 75 Shrutis. I have a book right here which says 75 Shrutis. It is only of very theoretical interest to say whether there are 75 Shrutis or 100 Shrutis. As far as I am concerned, you have 12 Shrutis and some very standard variations of those Shrutis. They cannot be called a separate Shruti, but a flavor of one of these Shrutis. For example, a note Re in a particular raga or Madhyama in a particular raga called Varali is used in a slightly different way. You don't need to call it a different Shruti. You can say in that particular raga, you have this flavor because it is not occurring everywhere else. So it is of theoretical interest. Yes, microtones is one word to use, but rather than that, I could say you have the notes and you have its variants. So we are talking about how many variants are there. For all practical purposes, it is 12.
And from Jinu again, do A.R. Rahman composition of Bollywood music are inherited from Sufi saints and mysticism? Okay.
Sufi music is one of our great traditions of world culture. And I think you all know that it flourishes in North India. It is a spiritual music and there is some dance to it. Now, I'm not surprised with the dance. The thing is that they have unleashed the dance in Sufi music. Look at our singers singing. There is a small dance that happens in their body. especially these mridangam players, when they play, actually their head is dancing. If you watch some of the very impressive performances in the YouTube of mridangam and tabla players, Zakir Hussain and all play, you will see that at least with their head there, there is a movement that is happening. So what was that point in that question again? Let me.
Is inherited from Sufi saints.
Yeah. So with Sufi, the influence of Sufi, I don't rule out, but I am not too sure about what is the opportunity for Rahman to derive from Sufi music. But his father was Shekhar was to my knowledge, a traditional Carnatic composer or a music composer. So whether he had an opportunity to get inspired from Sufi music, I do not know. Quite possible, because it is so overwhelming. Sufi music is so overwhelming. So if he had, so that is all I can say at this point of time.
From Sijit, CR again, what do you think in the perspective of Chalavina, Stiravina experiment by Bharata Muni?
See, reading classic texts in music is a very dangerous business. Because you do not know what they meant, what these instruments are. You have some explanations and vyakyanams by others, but we are not very sure of. So I am not too sure of what these veenas are, but my understanding is that the veena is one of the most evolved musical instruments in the world. Its current structure of it is itself 2000 years old. So it cannot have appeared all of a sudden. It would have appeared after evolution. So all I can comment is that it is very old, but I do not know about this Stiravina and Chalavina that you are talking about. I am not knowledgeable to comment on it.
So from Harish Joy, sir, can you tell about emotional feeling? Some ragas like Charugeshi and Revati.
I already said one of the songs, its emotions I already mentioned. Very depressing emotion is Shubha Panduvirali. I already sang it. There are many other songs like Ramakada Sagarasam Mangalam Tamburuvil Pagaruga Sagarame. That also is Shubha Panduvirali. So that also shows the sadness of death. Many other ragas which can create such as depressing. Panduvirali itself is, I would say, slightly depressing. Shubha Panduvirali is very, very depressing. There are other ragas. Devarajan Mashi used it in very, very clever ways. For example, one which creates sensation of dream. Sopnangale ningal sorga kumarigalallo. This is called Raga Shahana. If you listen to this beautiful rendering, maybe in a flute or so, and close your eyes and listen, you will understand there is some meaning in that. But it is possibly a cultural conditioning also, because a Westerner may not feel the same. Look at Bhubalam, in our films it is used to show the rising of the sun. It is a cultural conditioning. The same music may not mean anything to a Westerner, but to us it does mean much. The Neelambari, to fall asleep. Again, cultural conditioning. Madhava Tarate Padum Nayende Madhura Ganam Ketu Neela Varna Krishna. It is not only the part of the raga, it is also actually the slow tempo in which the song moves. Other ragas also can actually fit into for lullabies. For example, this raga called Navarasa. Jo Achuthsankar Jo Jo Mukunda Rave Paramananda Rama Govinda. jo, jo. So this is also a lullaby. So certain ragas seem to fit a sleeping mood, and certain ragas create playfulness. One of the famous raga I could say is Kadana Kudukala. Raghuvamsha Sudham Buddhi Chandra Sri Ramaraja Rajeshwara Raghuvamsha Sudham Buddhi Chandra Sri. Its notes are very famous. Sa rimaga risadi rimada daniga gapasa sanida pamaga pamagari sati magati sari dimadani gapasa sanida pamaga pamagari sari rimamadani gapasa sari rimamadani. It goes like that. So there is some playfulness in it. Or Chara Chara Samaraika Shura Jalati Paritaba Illa another thing, another thing, another thing. Tajanudimija, Tarigaka jump, Tariga jump, Tariga, Dilla another thing. Tatriga the Namdriga, another thing. Tatriga the another thing. Isn't there some playfulness in it? So you have a large variety of ragas, some very fine shade of difference. For example, Revati gives you spiritual, നമ്മളൊരു ആചാരപരമായിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു ഫീലിംഗ് നമുക്ക് വരുന്നുണ്ട്. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. That is Revati. So I feel that these are cultural conditionings rather than anything innate in the raga, but that doesn't make any difference to us. It does really invoke in us certain feelings, and they are used cleverly by, especially Devarajan is a very clever person in doing that. But I also feel Devarajan is so special that he can twist the feel of the raga. For example, the raga Mohanam is considered to be quite joyful. But in the song Mari Villin Tenmalare, there is a tinge of sorrow in it. Mari Villin Tenmalare, Manu Pokayo, Manu Pokayo. There is some, my feeling is that, I don't know whether you agree, there is a tinge of sorrow.
And next one, it is said that Tansen has the magical power to create rain with musical ragas and notations. How is it possible?
No, I don't think it is possible. I don't think it is possible. When he sang, possibly it rained and it was taken, this coincidence was taken. The same story goes with Dikshidhar also. In Attaipuram, he sang Amrita Varshini, the raga Amrita Varshini. So I can sing now, see if it rains. Anantamrita Varshini Amrita Karshini Anati Pujide Shive Pavaniya Nandamrita Varshini.
Maybe Amritam 2 years.
No, so then somebody says, no, you have to sing it with great amount of perfection, dedication, etc. That means it is not possible to replicate. So the original statement also does not mean anything, because we don't know what do you mean by dedication, and it cannot be measured. So this is a feel-good statement, I would say. Tansen sang so well, or maybe he sang during the rainy season, and the fall of the rain created a surreal effect in the mind of the people. All that could have happened.
Yeah. From Srijit, which is your favorite Swati Tirunal composition? Sir, you have written a book on it.
Yeah, I've very recently published a book on Swati Tirunal. Actually, many of his songs are my favorite. Smarajanaka Shubhacharita Akhila Lokanayaka Mama Smarajanaka Shubhacharita. This is a special raga, Persian raga called Bihar, in which he composed. Aaj aaye Shyam Mohan Ras Mandal Khelne. Aaj aaye. This is a Hindi song. Then Kripaya Palaya Shaure Karunara Savasa Kalusharti Vira Alarshara Paritapam Sulva Pinnalivedi Pani Bale Adri Sutavara Kalyana Shaila Sarasana Mava. This is Kalyani.
Sir, could you suggest some books to study on music from Amal Hussain?
Okay. The problem with the teachers is that they cannot recommend any other books because only they explain to their mind's content, they are happy. But I will look at this. In fact, I must tell you, I am myself writing, but it is a long-term project. I want to write a popular introduction to it, without using the Sanskrit term like Kagali Nishadam and Suddha Daivadam and all that, in a very popular way. So currently there is about Carnatic music, there is a tutorial by Sri Ram, Introduction to Carnatic Music. That seems to be quite good, but there are some unnecessary technical details for an ordinary person. So I cannot recommend anything to my heart's content at this point of time.
The question from Mohana Priya Nagarajan. Which language song is most beautiful, sir? And any Tamil songs?
Where Mona is from which place?
Not sure, sir.
You can ask. She can message.
Mohana,
I think she's
please message in the chat box.
I think she is from Tamil Nadu.
Where are you from?
Because
Mohana
she asked about
Priya Nagarajan. Please message in the chat box.
That is okay. That is okay. I assume she is from Tamil Nadu because she asked about Tamil. And I will sing for her a Tamil song of a great Tamil poet who visited my city. Sometime in 1910 or 11, I suppose. And I've written about it in my recent book on Vanchu, my home place. I've written a book on its local history. I've written that he visited there. So here is the song. Kagai chirakinile Nandalala. Kagai chirakinile Nandalala. Kariya niram tondrudaye Nandalala. Parkum marangalallam Nandalala. Parkum marangalallam Nandalala. Ninnai பச்சை நிறம் தோன்றுதையே நந்தலாலா காகை சிறகினிலே நந்தலாலா. Now to answer to her, I know many Tamil songs. ஏறுமயிலேறி விளையாடு முகமொன்றே ஈசருடைய ஞான மொழி பேசு முகமொன்றே. Okay.
Amazing, sir. From Sonu, please sing a song you most like. Your favorite song.
See, I must tell you, I'm a very insincere person as far as favorite song is concerned. the moment you start singing a song, you think like a unfaithful lover, who tells his beloved, "Oh, you are the dearest one to me." But the next moment he is with another dearest and tell her the same thing. But even though you might think these people are unfaithful, there is some very basic truth in them, because at that point of time they are the dearest. So actually I keep shifting what is my dearest song. I keep liking songs seasonally. At certain times you like a song and you're neck deep into it, and you can never have, you sing it, you never have enough of singing it. So what kind of song you want me to sing? I have categories in like Hindi bhajans of Swati Tirunal, or Tyagaraja songs, and certain times. Okay, I will sing a Swati Tirunal song. Kalaye deva devam, Kalaye deva devam, Murukarunya Nivasam. This is a rare song. Kalaye deva devam, Murukarunya Nivasam, Kalaye deva devam.
One question from Dr. Devendra from Bangalore.
Okay.
Difference between morning ragas and evening ragas. Can you give some examples?
Okay. These are all cultural conditioning, as I said earlier. I don't think there is anything called a morning raga or evening raga. But because of cultural conditioning, certain ragas look nice in the morning because you have seen it being used to project morning. The most favorite example, popular example, is Bhupala. All over South India, if you play that, you get a feel of rising sun. It goes like this. Malayalam, you have a film song also. Tuilunaru, Tuilunaru, Tumbikale, Tumbapugavile, Tumbikale. You're using that unaru in that song because of to exploit the cultural conditioning of Bhupala. So in temples and all, in the morning, if you play this raga, it has a special feel. But I again repeat, it is a cultural conditioning, not anything innate in the raga. That is my take on it. I may be wrong, but this is my take on it.
One question from Suma. It's a personal question. Sir, have you studied music during childhood days? Or after getting interest in music and then studied it? People say that studying music during childhood is easier than during older age. What do you say? Will you please sing a full song in Mohanam Ragam? So
learning anything other than, if I may be excused, other than sex is easiest when you are a kid. Unfortunately, I couldn't learn music formally, even though my father continuously kept on singing and playing cassettes of music. So I had some notion of it. I also had some wrong notions of it. But I studied music at the age of about 42. I studied for 5 years. After that, I staged some concerts. I don't do concerts every now and then. But I believe everyone can, if you take off your prejudice, that you can sing, and don't think that you are learning singing to become Deshdas. You do everything to be happy. So if music can make you happy, please learn. At any age you can learn. If you are 60 also, you can learn. That is my feeling. But the perception should be correct. You're not going to learn and aiming at passing an exam and performing. But if that happens, well and good. But there is a joy to be derived in singing. That is of very great value in life. So please do that. So Mohanam, you want a song in full. The easiest song in Mohanam to sing in full is a very simple song. Varavina mridupani vanarugalochana rani suruchira bambara veni suranuta kalyani nirupama shubhagunalola niratavaya pradashila varada priya ranganayaki vanchita baladayaki tarasi jasana janani jaya 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 vani. I'm just for obliging you to sing completely. I've sung this, but to sing a Carnatic composition in full, for example, Mohanam has many beautiful compositions. Gopika manoharam bhajeham govardhana giridharam Muragaram Suravaram Gopika Manogaram Bhajeham Govardhana Giridharam Suravaram Muragaram Gopika Manogaram Bhajeham Tapasakridaya Vesham tapasakridaya Vesham Samiram Nasadi Nadavinutam Nadachaturam Gopalam Kaustubamani Bhusham Kamsaharam Gampirya Mridubhasham. It's a very long composition. I don't remember the words completely, but to fully do justice to it, you have to do a small Raga Vistara, and you have to, in this particular song, I do a improvisation in Sahitya. That means before the song, I would say, Suravaram, Murakaram, Mohanam, Papaharam, Mama Pabakaram. So it takes a lot of time to do that, to do justice to Mohanam.
From Geeta Verma, could you please make a mention about science behind music therapy? 2-3 questions on the concept, similar concept.
Okay. I would say I'm not a proponent of music therapy. People are relaxed. They are benefited marginally when they do things that they like. So music is one of them. So when people are ill, if they read books that they like, nice novels, some people, they pray and they get some relief. They paint, they get some relief. Similarly, some people get some relief when they listen to music. And it need not necessarily apply to everyone. For example, I say, singing a particular composition will give you relief. And you go and sing this to a Pakistani guy, just that you are saying it is an Indian music he may not like. And I heard this experience from one person. He went to a cancer ward in RCC, and through the mic he sang selected ragas. And then after that, he walked through the ward and met everybody. And the doctor said, "This is the guy who sang for your relaxation." When he reached one bed, that person got up and asked him, "Samadhanamaittu kidannu chaavaanu paranjal sammadikkille?" Ennaanu അദ്ദേഹം ചോദിച്ചത്. This is what that person told. So it can have such reactions. People may not all be tuned to listening to Carnatic music or a particular raga and things of that sort. So certain people who like it might have some relief. But I haven't found any scientific evidence. There are some marginal evidences. To share with you, I did an experiment of hatching eggs. One in which it was played some particular ragas, and another one it was. You can ask whether the egg has ears. No, but sound waves fall on the eggshell, and it must have some effect. We found that it is a very small effect. We are not even sure whether if you repeat that experiment, it would be the same. That the eggs which had music, they came out 2 days ahead. But I cannot vouch on it. I don't think it is a at this point a scientifically valid thing.
Sir, from Shilpa, sir, please sing a song of Balasubramaniam, Malare Maunamai.
Well, I haven't heard that song.
Airman's music.
Yesterday morning, I heard him singing a beautiful song. I only heard it after a long time. I don't remember the tune, but the lines were itself very good. That is what I heard yesterday morning. The song which you mentioned, I do not know. The only song I know, S.P. Balasubramanian's favorite song is Shankara Nada Sharira Para Veda Vihara Para Jiveshwara Shankara. This is in Shankarabharanam, the Raga Shankarabharanam, and this song is also in Raga Shankara.
From Dr. Mariama Matthew,
Yes.
Principal Peace Memorial Training College, Mavelikara. Sir, one of my professors in education, Dr. Vedamani Manuel, has done lots of work related to music in teaching chemistry, especially the arrangement of elements in the periodic table. Can you suggest some methods of teaching the most difficult topics of subjects with the help of music? Is it possible?
I would first of all like to say I'm so glad you mentioned the name of one of the most eminent professors of education in Kerala, Dr. Vedamani Manuel. And I sang for everyone, so I think I will sing you a song which Dr. Vedamani Manuel taught me. This is on Lord Jesus, and I will just sing 2 lines. Deva Jata, Deva Jata, Jiva Paripala, Divya Manuvela. Actually, the name Manuel also comes in. Divya Manuvela, Deva Jata, Deva Jata, Palayama Paripala Deva Jata. Okay, to answer your question, Dr. Vedamani Manuel only taught me some of the theory of Carnatic music. Actually, he likened the classification of ragas to that of the periodic table. And he played that on the violin and taught me when I was a very small kid. Very happy that you know him. I think as a teacher educator, you know multiple intelligence theory. So musical intelligence is there in all of us. So anything can be taught with injecting music into it. And it might wake up the right side of the brain, and it might wake up many other cultural conditionings that it will be beneficial to teaching. I cannot give any immediate example at this point of time, but I'm sure many of this can be done. What I remember now is Professor Sri Nalanjara Sudhagar, a famous mathematics teacher who passed away last year. He used to write Vanjipat, Nadonada Vratam Patta, and all the algebraic equations, a plus b the whole squared, a plus b minus b, all that was made into songs. And students will never forget. So I don't remember those songs.
And from Akhil, sir, can you advise some online sites for studying music? Some online sites.
Oh, I actually do not know. But why don't you ask Mahaguru Google, online learning of Carnatic music or music, and I'm sure there are many. If you wish me to comment on what you have selected, you send me an email, I will take a look at it and comment.
From Rehana Mohideen Koya from Farooq College, which
So
raga is...
Yeah, tell me.
Sorry, sir.
Tell me.
Which raga is creating most happiest mood? Please make a demo.
For you, it is Ahir Bhairav. Rahana, Ahir Bhairav. Because Ahir Bhairav is the raga in which you praise the Lord Almighty. Allahu Akbar, Allahu, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu, Allahu Akbar, You will see that many Muslim songs are set in this raga. Aayiram kaadam agalayaadengilum maayade makka manasil nilkum. This is the song in Thiruvananthapuram, a famous song M. Jayachandran has sung. Let me hear that question once again. I just went into the music. Let me hear that question once again. I came to Farouk College a couple of years ago.
Which raga is creating most happiest mood? Please.
Many. Yeah, many. Actually, Shankarabaranam is, I would say, the most popular one. That is why across world culture it is accepted. It is simple and it is joyful. Keralam, Keralam, Janaganamana Adhinayaka Jayake, Kake Kake Kudevide, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, or even Tititara Tititai Titai Tagadei Tom. All of this is, Tititara is not a full song actually, it is only a few notes of Shankarabaranam. But Shankarabaranam, I would say, is a uplifting raga. Then there are, you must also know that even though I call it depressing raga, that gives you, washes your mind. And so, ആടുജീവിതം വായിക്കും. ആടുജീവിതത്തിൽ ഭയങ്കര ഡിപ്രസിംഗ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഒരുപാട് കാര്യങ്ങളില്ലേ, പക്ഷെ നമ്മളത് വായിച്ചു പോകുന്നതോടെ നമ്മുടെ മനസ്സ് ഒരു മുറിക്കകത്ത് തറയിൽ ചൂടുവെള്ളം ഒഴിച്ച് കഴിയതുപോലെ നമ്മുടെ മനസ്സിൽ ഒരു പ്രത്യേക എഫക്ട് വരില്ലേ. അതുപോലെ പാട്ടുകള്, ശോകമുഖമായിട്ടുള്ള പാട്ടുകൾ പാടുമ്പോഴും നമുക്ക് മനസ്സിനകത്ത് വേറെ ഏതോ ഒരു തരത്തിലൊരു സംതൃപ്തിയും ഒരു, ഐ വുഡ് സേ, an uplifting does happen. അതുപോലെ കല്യാണി, ആ പേര് തന്നെ കല്യാണം എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാല് നമ്മൾ വളരെ ജോയ്ഫുൾ ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു കാര്യത്തിനാണ്. കല്യാണി ഓൾസോ ഈസ് വെരി അപ്ലിഫ്റ്റിംഗ്. ഒരുപാട് സിനിമാ ഗാനങ്ങൾ അതിനകത്ത്. പിന്നെ ഈ മോഹനം എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ ജോയ്ഫുൾ ആണ്. അത് കല്യാണിയും കൂടെ ചേർത്തിട്ടൊരു രാഗമുണ്ട്. പിന്നെ കേരളത്തിൽ നിന്നാണ് രാഗം വന്നിരിക്കുന്നത്. സ്വാതിരുന്നാളാണ് രാഗം ഉണ്ടാക്കിയിട്ടുള്ളത്. അങ്ങോട്ട് മോഹനം, ഇങ്ങോട്ട് അതാണ് മോഹന കല്യാണി. അതില് സിനിമാ ഗാനമുണ്ട്, ദിലീപ് ഒക്കെ പാടിക്കൊണ്ട് നടക്കുന്ന ഒരു പാട്ടുണ്ട്, ഞാൻ ഏതാണെന്ന് മറന്നുപോയി. ഒരുപാട് ഗാനങ്ങളുണ്ട് അതിനകത്ത്. സ്വാതിരുന്നാളിന്റെ തന്നെ സേവേ ശ്രീകാന്തം വരദം സേവേ ശ്രീകാന്തം വരദം സേവേ.
From Professor Musaffar Ahmad Bhatt. Yes. Sir, I want to know which Sangeet Padati of Carnatic music is practiced. Example, Pandit Venkat Mukhi ji or Pandit Sharang Dev ji.
So you are asking about Venkatamagi and Sarang Dev. I think Venkatamagi is the text that modern music follows.
And from Sharan Aranya K. Shashi, there are two questions. നന്നായി പാടുവാൻ പാട്ട് ആധികാരികമായി പഠിക്കണമെന്നില്ലല്ലോ സർ. നല്ല ശബ്ദം പിന്നെ മ്യൂസിക്കിനോടുള്ള പാഷൻ പോരെ
മതി. പക്ഷെ പ്രൊഫഷണൽ പെർഫോമൻസിന് നമുക്ക് അത് സാധ്യമാവില്ല. നിങ്ങൾ എന്തിനാണ് നന്നായിട്ട് പാടുന്നത്? നിങ്ങൾക്ക് സുഖം കിട്ടാനാണോ? ആണെങ്കിൽ നമുക്ക് ഒരു പാട്ടും പഠിക്കണ്ട, നമുക്കൊരു പാട്ടും പഠിക്കേണ്ട കാര്യമില്ല. അപ്പൊ അത് വളരെ ഇമ്പോർട്ടൻ്റ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള പോയിന്റ്. പക്ഷെ ഈ പാട്ടിനൊരു ക്രാഫ്റ്റ്, ആ ക്രാഫ്റ്റ് വളരെ ചുരുക്കം പേർക്ക് അത് നാച്ചുറൽ ആയിട്ട് വരും. യേശുദാസിന് ഒരുപക്ഷെ പാട്ട് പഠിക്കേണ്ട കാര്യമില്ലായിരുന്നിരിക്കാം. SP ബാലസുബ്രഹ്മണ്യം വളരെ വലിയ എക്സാമ്പിൾ ആണ്. SP ബാലസുബ്രഹ്മണ്യം ഈ ശങ്കരാഭരണം എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ സിനിമയിലെ ക്ലാസിക്കൽ സോങ്സ് പഠിക്കുമ്പോൾ അദ്ദേഹത്തിന് ക്ലാസിക്കൽ മ്യൂസിക് അറിഞ്ഞൂടാ, അദ്ദേഹം ക്ലാസിക്കൽ മ്യൂസിക് പാടുകയാണ്. അപ്പൊ അദ്ദേഹത്തിന് ഡിവൈൻ ഗിഫ്റ്റ് ആണ് വന്ന് ജീവിതത്തിൽ വന്നിരിക്കുന്നത്. പക്ഷെ നമ്മളെ പോലുള്ളവർക്ക് ഇറ്റ് വിൽ ഹെൽപ്പ് ടു ഹാവ് എ ബേസിക് ട്രെയിനിങ് വളരെ ചെറിയ ക്ലാസ്സിലുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ നമുക്ക് ആ നോട്ട്സ് എല്ലാം ഒന്ന് ഉറക്കുകയും, അതുപോലെ തൊണ്ടയ്ക്ക് ഒരു റേഞ്ച് ഉണ്ട് ദാറ്റ് മോസ്റ്റ് ഓഫ് us do not know. നമ്മുടെ തൊണ്ടയുടെ റേഞ്ച് നമുക്ക് അറിഞ്ഞൂടാ. എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നു നിങ്ങള് ജീവിതത്തിലെ പല അനുഭവങ്ങളിൽ കൂടെ കടന്നുപോയവരുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ചിലപ്പോൾ അറിയായിരിക്കും. നമ്മൾ ഇപ്പം വീട്ടിലൊരു വഴക്കുണ്ടാകുന്ന സമയത്ത് നമ്മൾ ഉറക്കെ പെട്ടെന്ന് ഇങ്ങനെ വിളിച്ച് സംസാരിക്കും. അപ്പൊ നമുക്കിന്ന് അത്ഭുതം, ഇങ്ങനെ ഒരു ശബ്ദം നമ്മുടെ ഉള്ളിൽ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. അങ്ങനെ ശബ്ദങ്ങൾ നമ്മുടെ ഉള്ളിലുണ്ട്. അപ്പൊ ഈ ഫുൾ ത്രോട്ടഡ് സിംഗിങ് എന്ന് പറയും, അത് നമുക്ക് സാധാരണ പരിചയം കാണും. നമ്മൾ ഈ വളരെ സോഫ്റ്റ് ആയിട്ട് പാടുമ്പോൾ ഫുൾ ത്രോട്ട് സിംഗിങ് ഇല്ല. അപ്പൊ ഞാനൊരു വ്യത്യാസം കാണിച്ചു തരാം. ഇത് ഫുൾ ത്രോട്ട് സിംഗിങ് അല്ല. ഫുൾ ത്രോട്ട് നോക്കിക്കോളൂ. നഗുമോ മുഗനലേനി നാജാലി തെൽസി. അപ്പൊ ഇവിടെ നിന്നാണ് ശബ്ദം വരുന്നത്. മറ്റേത് നമ്മള് ലൈറ്റ് മ്യൂസിക്കിന്റെ ഒക്കെ മൈക്കിന്റെ അടുത്തൊക്കെ നിന്ന് പാടുമ്പോൾ അത് ഉപയോഗിക്കാം. ഹൃദയം, ഇവിടെ നമ്മള് ഫോൾസ് വോയിസ് ഉപയോഗിച്ച് പാടുകയാണ്. പാട്ടിന്റെ റേഞ്ചിന് അത് സ്യൂട്ടബിൾ ആവുമെങ്കിൽ നമുക്ക് അങ്ങനെ ചെയ്യാം. പക്ഷെ മറ്റേ റേഞ്ച് പഠിച്ചാലേ നമുക്ക് വളരെ ഹൈ പിച്ചിലോട്ടൊക്കെ പോകാനും ഒക്കെ പലർക്കും സാധിക്കുള്ളൂ. ചിലർക്ക് നാച്ചുറൽ ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഗിഫ്റ്റ് കാണുമായിരിക്കാം. അതുകൊണ്ട് പാടുന്നത് കൊള്ളാം. ഇനി രണ്ടാമതൊരു ഇൻട്രസ്റ്റിംഗ് കമന്റ് ഐ ഹാവ് ടു മേക്ക്. യഥാർത്ഥത്തിൽ പാട്ട് പഠിക്കാതിരിക്കുന്നതാണ് നല്ലത്. എന്തുകൊണ്ടാന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ ഈ നമ്മുടെ ഈ സിനിമ എടുക്കുന്നത് പഠിച്ച് പൂനെയിൽ പോയി ഇൻസ്റ്റിറ്റ്യൂട്ടിൽ പോയി സിനിമ എടുത്ത് പഠിച്ചു വരുന്നവരുടെയൊക്കെ സത്യം പറഞ്ഞാൽ ഐ പിറ്റി ചെയ്തും. കാരണം അവർക്ക് ഒരിക്കലും സിനിമ കാണോ. നമ്മൾ സിനിമാ തിയേറ്ററിൽ കയറി ഇരുന്ന് സിനിമ കണ്ട് അതിലെ നായകനും നായികയും കൂടെ പിരിയുമ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ കരഞ്ഞ് ഒക്കെയാണ് നമ്മൾ പോകുന്നത്. നമ്മുടെ സാധാരണ മനുഷ്യരായിട്ട് അതിനെ ആസ്വദിച്ച് നമ്മൾ അതിൽ കൂടെ ഉരുകിയാണ് നമ്മൾ പോകുന്നത്. പക്ഷെ ഈ പൂനെ ഫിലിം ഇൻസ്റ്റിറ്റ്യൂട്ടിൽ പോയി വന്നയാൾ ഈ സിനിമ കാണുമ്പോൾ ക്യാമറ എവിടെ ഇരിക്കുന്നു, ഇപ്പം പാൻ ഷോട്ടാണ്, ഇപ്പം മറ്റേ ലൈറ്റിംഗ് അവിടെ ശരിയായില്ല, ഇവിടെ ഓഡിയോ സിങ്ക് ആയില്ല, ഇതായിരിക്കും അയാൾ കാണുന്നത്. അങ്ങനെ ഒരു കുഴപ്പമുണ്ട് ഈ പാട്ട് പഠിച്ചു കഴിഞ്ഞു. ഇപ്പൊ എന്നെ സംബന്ധിച്ച് ഞാൻ ഒരു പാട്ട് കേട്ടാൽ ഉടനെ അതിന്റെ താളം ഇട്ട് നോക്കുക. ആക്ച്വലി അതൊരു യാന്ത്രികമായിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു കാര്യമാണ്. നമുക്ക് താളം ശരീരത്തിൽ വരും, നമ്മൾ ഇട്ടു നോക്കേണ്ട കാര്യമില്ല. അപ്പൊ അടുത്തിരിക്കുന്ന ആൾ ഇടുന്നത് നമ്മളും കൂടെ ഒരു വ്യത്യാസം ഉണ്ടോ എന്ന് നമുക്കൊരു സംശയം. ഞാൻ ചെറുതായിരുന്നപ്പോൾ ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞു എനിക്ക് താളം ബോധമില്ലായിരുന്നു. അപ്പൊ ഞാൻ ഈ കച്ചേരിക്കൊക്കെ ചെന്നിരിക്കുമ്പോൾ ഞാൻ നല്ല ആസ്വദിച്ചിരിക്കുക. പക്ഷെ ഞാൻ കൈവച്ച് തട്ടുമ്പോൾ നോക്കുമ്പോൾ അടുത്ത ആൾക്കാർ അങ്ങനെയല്ല തട്ടുന്നത്, അവർ വേറെ രീതിയിലാണ് തട്ടുന്നത്. ഞാൻ ഇങ്ങനെ ആക്കുമ്പോൾ അവരിങ്ങനെ ആക്കും. പക്ഷെ ഇപ്പൊ ഞാൻ മനസ്സിലാക്കി എങ്ങനെ ആക്കിയാലും കുഴപ്പമില്ല, നമ്മൾ ഇപ്പൊ ഇങ്ങനെ ആയിക്കൊണ്ടിരുന്നാലും താളമാണ്. ആക്ച്വലി സമയത്തിനെ ദിവസങ്ങളായിട്ട് തിരിച്ചിരിക്കുന്ന പോലെ ബേസിക് യൂണിറ്റ്സ് ആയിട്ട് തിരിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട്. മിക്കവാറും താളങ്ങൾ ഈക്വൽ ആണ്. അപ്പൊ ഇങ്ങനെ ആക്കിക്കൊണ്ടിരുന്ന ഏത് പാട്ടിനും താളം വീഴും, എക്സെപ്റ്റ് നമ്മള് ചില പ്രത്യേക താളങ്ങൾ, റെയർ ആയിട്ടുള്ള താളങ്ങളിൽ അങ്ങനെ അല്ലാതെ വരുന്നുള്ളത്. അപ്പോൾ പാട്ട് പഠിച്ചാൽ അതിന്റെ സാങ്കേതികത്വമൊക്കെ അറിഞ്ഞാൽ അതിന്റെ ആസ്വാദനത്തിന് ചെറിയ ഒരു കുറവ് ആ വിഷയത്തിൽ ഉണ്ടാകും. പക്ഷെ പാടി സുഖിപ്പിക്കുന്നതിൽ നമുക്ക് ഭയങ്കരമായിട്ടുള്ള അഡ്വാൻറ്റേജ് കിട്ടും. കാരണം പാടി സുഖിക്കുന്ന ആൾക്ക് നമ്മൾ ഈ സാങ്കേതികത്വം കൊണ്ടൊക്കെയാണ് പാടുന്നതെങ്കിലും ആ കേൾക്കുന്ന ആൾക്ക് അതിന്റെ സുഖമാണ് അവർക്ക് കിട്ടുന്നത്. ഇപ്പോ ഈ നാക്ക് തിരിയാത്തതിന് ഞാനൊരു ഉദാഹരണം പറഞ്ഞുതരാം. അങ്ങനെ എളുപ്പമല്ല പാടാൻ. ആ നാക്ക് ഭയങ്കര തരിഗജം മദനി തരിഗജം ഗബസ തരിഗജം മദനി തരിഗജം ഗബസ തജകിടതോ സനിദപമഗരി സന്നാദ്രിദ്രിദീം തനനനം. അപ്പൊ അതൊരു ക്രാഫ്റ്റ് ആണ്. അത് ഒരുപാട് തവണ പ്രാക്ടീസ് ചെയ്താലേ അത്ര സ്പീഡില് ശബ്ദം വരുള്ളൂ. ബാലമുരളി കൃഷ്ണ എഴുതിയിട്ടുള്ള തില്ലാന എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ് നിങ്ങൾ നെറ്റി സെർച്ച് ചെയ്ത് നോക്കിയാൽ ഒരുപാട് എണ്ണം കാണാൻ പറ്റും. നാക്ക് കുഴഞ്ഞു പോകും പാടിക്കഴിഞ്ഞു. തില്ലനാന തിരന തകിട തക തില്ലനാന തിരന ഭയങ്കരമായിട്ട് ഇങ്ങനെ നാക്ക് കുഴച്ച് തിരിച്ച് മറിച്ചൊക്കെ പാടും. അപ്പൊ അത് പ്രാക്ടീസ് ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ നമുക്ക് പാടാനായിട്ട് സാധിക്കും. സോ ഇഫ് യു വാണ്ട് ടു പെർഫോം ആൻഡ് ഇംപ്രസ് പീപ്പിൾ ദെൻ യു മസ്റ്റ് ലേൺ. അല്ല നമുക്കൊരു സാധാരണ മനുഷ്യനായിട്ട് ഇപ്പൊ സിനിമ കാണാനായിട്ട് നമ്മൾ ആരെങ്കിലും പൂനെ ഫിലിം ഇൻസ്റ്റിറ്റ്യൂട്ടിൽ പോയി ഫിലിം സയൻസ് പഠിക്കൂ? ഇല്ല. അതുപോലെ സാധാരണ മനുഷ്യർക്ക് സംഗീതം കേൾക്കാനോ ശാസ്ത്രീയ സംഗീതം ഉൾപ്പെടെ കേൾക്കാനോ, ശാസ്ത്രീയ സംഗീതം കേൾക്കുമ്പോൾ സിമ്പിൾ പ്രിൻസിപ്പിൾ ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞുതരാം. നമുക്ക് സന്തോഷം തോന്നുന്നു കേൾക്കുക, അല്ലാതെ കേൾക്കാതിരിക്കുക, വേറെ ചർച്ചയൊന്നും നോക്കില്ല. യേശുദാസ് ഒരു പാട്ട് പാടി നമുക്ക് കൊള്ളാൻ തോന്നി, അത് ശാസ്ത്രീയമാണോ ലൈറ്റ് ആണോ ഫോക്ക് ആണോ നമ്മൾ ഇഷ്ടമുള്ള കേൾക്കുക, ഇഷ്ടമുള്ളത് മൂളുക. ആരുടെ ലൈസൻസ് നമുക്ക് വേണ്ട. വി ഹാവ് എ റൈറ്റ് ടു ഡു ദാറ്റ്. ഓൾ ഓഫ് us are entitled to do that. നിങ്ങളുടെ ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞല്ലോ ഏറ്റവും പച്ചയായിട്ടുള്ള ജീവിതത്തിന്റെ ഒരു മണിക്കൂർ ഒരു ദിവസമുള്ള സ്ഥലത്ത് നമുക്ക് ആ പാട്ട് പ്രയോഗിച്ചു ആരുടെയും ലൈസൻസ് നമുക്ക് വേണ്ട. നമ്മുടെ മുന്നേ ആരും ഇല്ല. നമ്മൾ എത്ര ഇങ്ങനെ പാടുന്നു എന്നുള്ളതിനെ കുറിച്ച് നമുക്ക് പ്രിജുഡിസോ മടിയോ ഒന്നും ഇല്ലാത്ത സമയമാണ്. സോ പ്ലീസ് ടേക്ക് ഇറ്റ് ഫ്രം മീ ദാറ്റ് അൺലെസ് യു വാണ്ട് ടു പെർഫോം ആൻഡ് ഇംപ്രസ് പീപ്പിൾ there is no need to study music. ഭാഷയുടെ കാര്യമായിട്ടുള്ള കമ്പാരിസൺ ആണല്ലോ പറഞ്ഞത്. അപ്പൊ ഞാൻ ചോദിക്കണേ, ഭാഷ പഠിക്കേണ്ട കാര്യമുണ്ടോ എന്ന് ചോദിക്കുന്നവരാണ്. ഭാഷ പഠിക്കേണ്ട കാര്യമില്ല. നിങ്ങൾക്ക് പ്രത്യേകിച്ച് സാഹിത്യ കൃതിയൊന്നും എഴുതാനില്ലെങ്കിൽ, നിങ്ങൾ ജനിച്ചപ്പോൾ മുതൽ സ്കൂളിൽ വിട്ടില്ലെങ്കിലും നിങ്ങൾ മലയാളം സംസാരിക്കുമല്ലോ. അതുപോലെയാണ് നമ്മൾ പാട്ടിനെ പറ്റി അടിസ്ഥാനപരമായിട്ട് നമ്മുടെ ഉള്ളിൽ കിടപ്പുണ്ട്. മനുഷ്യന്റെ ലേറ്റന്റ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള മ്യൂസിക്കൽ എബിലിറ്റി ഉണ്ട്. രണ്ടാമത്തെ എബിലിറ്റി കൾച്ചറൽ ട്യൂണിംഗ് ഉണ്ട്. ഒരുപാട് പാട്ട് കേട്ടോണ്ടിരിക്കുകയില്ല, അതിൽ നിന്ന് ഉണ്ടാകുന്ന ഇത്.
Sir, from Amal Hussain again,
Yes.
which music is easier, classical or Western? I mean, Carnatic or Western? Easy to learn.
അയ്യോ, അത് വളരെ എളുപ്പം ഉത്തരം പറയാൻ. വെസ്റ്റേൺകാരന് വെസ്റ്റേൺ എളുപ്പവും നമുക്ക് കർണാട്ടിക് എളുപ്പവും കേട്ടോ. കൾച്ചറൽ ആയിട്ടുള്ള കാര്യങ്ങൾ നമ്മളെ കൾച്ചറലി അറ്റ്യൂൺഡ്. നമുക്ക് വളരെ പെട്ടെന്ന് നമ്മുടെ നാട്ടിലെ ഒരു കുട്ടിക്ക് വെസ്റ്റേൺ ഈസ്റ്റേൺ ഇത് പെട്ടെന്ന് പോകാൻ. പിന്നെ നമ്മുടെ നാട്ടിൽ വെസ്റ്റേൺ മ്യൂസിക് അറിയാവുന്നവരുണ്ട്, അതിനും ഒരു കൾച്ചറൽ അറ്റ്യൂണിംഗ് ഉണ്ട്. എന്തുകൊണ്ടാന്ന് വെച്ച് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ സായിപ്പിന്റെ സംഗീതം ശ്രേഷ്ഠമാണെന്നുള്ള 100-300 വർഷമായിട്ട് നമ്മുടെ മനസ്സിൽ പതിഞ്ഞു കിടക്കുന്ന കൊളോണിയൽ ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു കാഴ്ചപ്പാട് കാരണം നമ്മൾ വെസ്റ്റേൺ മ്യൂസിക്കിനെ ലുക്ക് അപ് ടു ഇറ്റ് ഞാൻ നോക്കുന്നേ ഇല്ല. ഞാൻ വെസ്റ്റേൺ മ്യൂസിക്കിനെ വളരെ ബഹുമാനിക്കുന്നു, പക്ഷെ അതിന്റെ ലുക്ക് അപ് ടുവിന്റെ കാര്യമില്ല. ഒന്നാമത്തെ കാര്യം എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ ഇപ്പൊ ബീതോവൻ, മൊസാർട്ട് എന്നൊക്കെ പറഞ്ഞ അവരുടെ വലിയ പ്രതിഭകളുണ്ട്. അവരെ ഞാൻ വളരെ ഉയർത്തി കാണുന്നു. ത്യാഗരാജസ്വാമിയുടെ ഒക്കെ ഒരുപടി മോളി വെക്കണമെങ്കിലും വെക്കാം. പക്ഷെ ഒരു കാര്യം ഓർക്കുക, അവര് 40 വയലിൻ ഇരുന്ന് ഒരുമിച്ച് പാടിയാൽ പാട്ട് എങ്ങനെ ഇരിക്കുന്ന അവരുടെ വൈഭവത്തിലാണ് അത് ഉദിക്കുന്നത്. ഒരു ഓർക്കസ്ട്ര മുഴുവൻ എങ്ങനെ പാടിയാൽ എങ്ങനെ ഇരിക്കും, പല നോട്ടുകൾ ഒരുമിച്ച് കേട്ടാൽ എങ്ങനെ ഇരിക്കും. കോഡ് എന്ന് പറയും, നമ്മുടെ അവിടെ ഇല്ല അത്. അപ്പൊ അത് മുഴുവൻ അവർ എഴുതി വെച്ചിരിക്കുക. പക്ഷെ പെർഫോം ചെയ്യുന്ന ആൾ വന്നിട്ട് അത് അതേപോലെ പെർഫോം ചെയ്യണം. അയാൾ എഴുതി വെച്ചിരിക്കുന്നതിൽ ഒരു അക്ഷരം മാറ്റാവും, ഒരു നോട്ട് പോലും മാറ്റാവും. പക്ഷെ നമ്മുടെ ഇവിടെ ത്യാഗരാജസ്വാമി എഴുതി വെച്ചിരിക്കുന്ന കീർത്തനം ബാലമുരളീകൃഷ്ണൻ ഒരു വിധത്തിൽ പാടുന്നു, മധുര ശേഷഗോപാലൻ വേറൊരു വിധത്തിൽ പാടുന്നു, പി ഉണ്ണികൃഷ്ണൻ വേറൊരു വിധത്തിൽ പാടുന്നു. ആ പാട്ടുകാരന് ക്രിയേറ്റിവിറ്റി ഷെയർ ചെയ്ത് കൊടുത്തിരിക്കുകയാണ്. അപ്പൊ നമ്മൾ ഇംപ്രവൈസ് ചെയ്യുന്നത് മ്യൂസിഷ്യന് ക്രിയേറ്റിവിറ്റി കൊടുക്കുന്നതിന് ഒരു റോള് കർണാട്ടിക് മ്യൂസിക്കിലുണ്ട്. അത് ചില ഫോംസ് ഓഫ് വെസ്റ്റേൺ മ്യൂസിക്കിൽ അതില്ല. ആ ക്രിയേറ്റിവിറ്റി മുഴുവൻ കമ്പോസർ എടുത്തിരിക്കും. കമ്പോസർ തന്നെ എല്ലാ 40 പേര് എന്ത് വായിക്കണം എന്നൊക്കെ എഴുതി വെച്ചിട്ട് അതേപടി റീപ്രൊഡ്യൂസ് ചെയ്യണം. നമ്മുടെ അവിടെ അങ്ങനെ ഇല്ല. അപ്പൊ നമ്മുടെ പാട്ടുകാർക്ക് ക്രിയേറ്റീവായിട്ട് അത് ചെയ്യാം എന്നുള്ളത് കൊണ്ട് അതിനൊരു പ്രത്യേകതയുണ്ട്. അപ്പൊ പാട്ട് പഠിക്കാൻ എളുപ്പം, വെസ്റ്റേൺകാരന് വെസ്റ്റേൺ പഠിക്കാൻ, ഇന്ത്യക്കാരന് പൊതുവെ ഇന്ത്യൻ മ്യൂസിക് പഠിക്കാനാണ് എളുപ്പം. പക്ഷെ ഈ കൊളോണിയൽ ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു കാഴ്ചപ്പാടുള്ളവർക്ക് അത് കൂടുതൽ അതിനോട് മാനസികമായ ഒരു അടുപ്പവും ബഹുമാനവും തോന്നുമ്പോൾ അത് പഠിക്കാൻ എളുപ്പമായിരിക്കും എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നു.
9 മണിക്ക് ഇനി 3 മിനിറ്റേ ഉള്ളൂ. അപ്പൊ ഒരു ചോദ്യം കൂടെ ചോദിക്കാലോ സർ? ചോദ്യങ്ങൾ
ചോദിക്കാം. നമുക്ക് ഒരു ടോക്കിന് പോയിട്ട് ഞാൻ അടുത്തിടയ്ക്ക് എത്രയോ ടോക്കിന് പോയി. ഇത്രയും ആൾക്കാർ രസകരമായിരുന്നു, എത്രയോ ചോദ്യങ്ങൾ ചോദിച്ചു. ഒരു ടോക്ക് അടുത്തിടയ്ക്ക് എന്റെ മനസ്സിൽ പതിഞ്ഞിട്ടില്ല. വളരെ സന്തോഷം.
അഗോറയുടെ ഒരു പ്രത്യേകത സർ, തുടങ്ങിയ മുതലേ അങ്ങനെയാണ്. ഒരുപാട് ചോദ്യങ്ങൾ കിട്ടാറുണ്ട് രസകരമായിട്ട്. Sir, which is your favorite raga in classical music? Can you sing a song from that raga?
ഞാൻ നേരത്തെ പറഞ്ഞു, ഞാൻ അക്കാര്യത്തിൽ വളരെ ഇൻസിൻസിയർ ആണ്. നമ്മളൊരു രാഗം കേട്ടു തുടങ്ങുമ്പോൾ, ഉദാഹരണത്തിന് ചാരികേശി കേട്ടു തുടങ്ങുമ്പോൾ നമുക്ക് പിന്നെ വേറൊരു രാഗത്തിനെ പറ്റി ആലോചനയില്ല, ബഹുമാനമില്ല. അവരെ പിന്നെ ഫോൺ വിളിക്കുന്നില്ല, അവരോട് സംസാരിക്കുന്നില്ല, അവരെ കൊഞ്ചിപ്പിക്കുന്നില്ല. പിന്നെ ഈ രാഗത്തിന്റെ കൂടെയാണ് നമ്മൾ ഇരിക്കുന്നത് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ പോലെയാണ്. അപ്പൊ കല്യാണിയാണ് എനിക്ക് പറയാൻ മനസ്സിൽ വരുന്ന രാഗം കല്യാണിയാണ്. അതിലെ ഒരു 2 വരി ചൊല്ലാം പാടാം. ഇത് ഞാൻ തന്നെ ട്യൂൺ ചെയ്തിരിക്കുന്ന പാട്ടാണ്. കുഞ്ചൻ നമ്പ്യാരുടെ വരികളെ ട്യൂൺ ചെയ്തിരിക്കുകയാണ് കല്യാണി രാഗത്തിൽ. ഈരേഴുലകന്നു പേരാമരത്തിന്റെ നാരായ വേരായ നാരായണാകരെ. ഈരേഴുലകന്നു പേരാമരത്തിന്റെ നാരായ വേരായ നാരായണാകരെ. പേരായിരം നിനക്കുള്ളോരു നീ പണ്ടു പേരാലിലയിൽ ശയിച്ചീലയോ ചിരം. ഈരേഴുലകന്നു പേരാമരത്തിന്റെ നാരായ വേരായ നാരായണ നാരായണ.
Sir, shall we wind up or?
Up to you.
Okay. One more question from Srijit. Sir, sing something in Sindhu Bhairavi, the king of ragas.
Why Sindhu Bhairavi is king of ragas is Sindhu Bhairavi is the only raga in which you can use any note. അതുകൊണ്ട് അതിന്റെ പേര് തന്നെ ദ്വാദശ ഭൈരവി. ഏത് നോട്ട് വേണോ അതിനകത്ത് കയറി വരാം. അതൊരു പ്രത്യേക, അങ്ങനെ എല്ലാ നോട്ടും ചുമ്മാ ഒരു ക്രമത്തിൽ വെക്കാനൊക്കെ ഇല്ലെങ്കിലും ചില നോട്ടുകൾ മറ്റേ വേരിയേഷൻ നമുക്ക് പ്രയോഗിക്കുമ്പോൾ അതിനൊരു വലിയ ഒരു എഫക്റ്റ് കിട്ടും. അതാണ് അത്. സ്വാതിരുന്നാളിന്റെ പാട്ടുണ്ട്, 2 പാട്ടുകളുണ്ട് ഫേമസ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള. അതിലൊരെണ്ണം ഞാൻ പാടാം. രാമചന്ദ്ര പ്രഭു തുമ ബിന പ്യാരെ, രാമചന്ദ്ര പ്രഭു തുമ ബിന പ്യാരെ, രാമചന്ദ്ര പ്രഭു തുമ ബിന പ്യാരെ.